Alloy 7.
This security team has anything else to say. Bring me my goddamn crystals!
Truth be told, I didn't enjoy the original Borderlands much at all. I felt the story was lacking, the gameplay was overly repetitive, and its dusty sandbox world wasn't worth exploring. Given my issues with the first, I consider myself fortunate that a very good friend of mine convinced me to play Borderlands 2 despite my beefs. Back at it again, fellow gamers, it's B Chambers from Alloy7.com with my video review for Borderlands 2.
How do we get back up to the other one?
What do you mean they're fighting back? Who said we were as docile as bloody kittens? Give me that gun, you coward! Aim for the blue one! Aim for the blue one!
So this time around, Gearbox gave us an interesting world to explore, an excellent cast of characters, and new stat boosting options to combat the tedium of leveling. Unless you're opposed to ultra-violent games and dark humor, Borderlands 2 is an excellent game you can't afford to miss. And with that said, I believe the following types of gamers will enjoy the game the most. Action junkies. Borderlands 2 is one high-intensity combat sequence after another. Toss in the excellent controls and button mapping with the improved inventory interface, and you've got a game that no action junkie should pass on, period. Collaborators. This game is definitely better when played with friends, and Gearbox clearly made it to appeal to collaborators in that they've provided incentives for friends or even strangers to play the game together. The game increases the difficulty, gives you more money, and drops better loot in proportion to the amount of people you have in your squad. On top of that, cooperative play is completely seamless with no ridiculous pre-game menus to sift through. Just find a game, jump in, and all your progress comes with you. This edition even gives you the option to skip over portions of your single-player game that you've completed with friends in their games. Explorers. Many people refer to the Borderlands games as open-world or sandbox titles. And while this assessment is not incorrect, I do want to make a point to you more enthusiastic explorers. The world in Borderlands 2 is not completely open. It's a collection of decent-sized maps tied together by travel hub loading screens and navigated by a stationary fast travel system. So don't think Elder Scrolls where you have the freedom to basically walk to anything you can see or immediately fast travel to any location you've already visited. Don't let this discourage you though. The real feeling of exploration comes from how the game allows you to approach enemy locations and combat situations with a large degree of freedom. The bottom line is that exploration in Borderlands 2 is open enough for most explorers to at least be satisfied, if not blown away. Audiophile. Quick side note about me, I'm a musician and also I fall into the audiophile category in this review system. And I believe Borderlands 2 should be seen as the standard for how to execute a dynamic soundtrack. Not only is the music itself amazing, but the way it adjusts to what you're doing in the game is absolutely on point. The music, voice acting, and sound effects all had a direct positive impact on my game experience. Extreme audiophiles that need a dope soundtrack to pull them into their games will not be disappointed here. Builders. The builder or customization elements of Borderlands 2 were what initially hooked me to the game. However, by the time I started my second playthrough, I was a bit burnt out because of the slow leveling progression. This game starts out significantly more difficult than the original. At least that was my experience playing as an assassin. This makes it all the more sweet though when you level up, enter skill points, and then return to an area where you got your ass handed to you to whoop some ass of your own. With that said, if you're like me and plan to put many hours of play beyond simply beating the game, just be aware that its repetitive nature may begin to wear on you a bit. Also, leveling from 40 to 50 seemed like an absolute chore, especially considering the sweet level 50 loot I was sitting on and couldn't use. Experience in Borderlands 2 gets way too scarce way too early in my opinion. Achievers. For you completionists and achievement junkies out there, Borderlands 2 offers quite a bit to do. And aside from a few tedious achievements, most of it is a whole lot of fun. Strategists. Borderlands 2 doesn't do a great job of rewarding the smart use of strategy or tactics. Winning a battle requires little more than having good weapons for your level or simply attacking enemies whose levels are on par or lower than yours. While playing with friends, you can incorporate different tactics using the diverse character classes, but you'll never really get the sense that doing so is necessary. If I had to guess, I'd say including different character classes is more about giving the gamer choices for how they fight, and less about adding a tactical feel to the battlefield. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. The fact that tactics take a backseat to the action is part of what makes this game so accessible to so many. Competitors. Other than the 2 arenas that the game makes available and its built-in head-to-head duel mode, there's really not much here for the competitor to get into, especially if the type of games you like are more like Call of Duty or Battlefield. Visualists. The graphics here are mixed between beautifully handled color and awkward-looking character models. Overall, the visual presentation is good, but I wouldn't call it outstanding. Bookworms. Borderlands 2's story may be slightly more coherent than the first, but that's really not saying much. Bookworms will find a functional story, but really not much more than that. If great stories with well-developed characters are your thing, then Borderlands 2 may not be where you want to look. The saving grace here is the outstanding voice cast and the way they deliver the story, especially when you consider how humorous it is. So it's that time once again, friends, to bring another review to a close, and I hope as I post the takeaways on the screen that I've given you enough information to determine if Borderlands 2 is right for you. Personally, I think it is right for you and you should go cop it, but I'll leave that decision to you. As always, if you've played the game already, leave us some commentary about your experience. And with that said, it's been a pleasure. Again, I'm B. Chambers from Alloy7.com. Until next time, peace and Godspeed.
Alloy 7.